Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Selena and I am your holistic guide and GAPS guru. I like to talk about all things non-toxic living, GAPS diet, food, emotions, and really just creating a healthy lifestyle and home. Today I'm going to be talking about the topic of learning to listen to your body. So a lot of people might call this intuitive eating, especially when it comes to GAPS. It's really important that we are listening to our bodies and we're learning the language of our bodies. I have often heard of people really just bypassing their body's signals, pushing themselves way too far, especially when it comes to the detox process. And I've even heard of people really just kind of teetering on this eating disorder type behavior where they're restricting, but then they're overeating. And especially on GAPS, we're really learning to kind of set these things aside, set aside our judgments towards the foods that we're eating, setting aside our judgments towards ourselves, and really learning to listen to our body, the internal voice that is telling us what is actually good for us. So I want to start by saying that all of this comes under the presupposition that our bodies are miraculous, amazing, wonderful beings, and they are capable of telling us what they need and what they want at any given moment, and that they are always moving us closer and closer towards healing. So we kind of have to get out of this Western mindset that our body is against us, that our body is bad, that the physical things that are happening to us are even bad. I would just encourage you to kind of set that aside and really just take on the idea that you and your body are created and designed uniquely and with a purpose, and your body is always telling you what it wants in order to help you. It's always wanting to help you. It's always wanting to lead you towards healing. The crazy thing is, like, actually even on a cellular level, your body's always trying to heal itself, always trying to recover and repair itself, whether it's cells or like if you have a cut, the cells are multiplying and they're trying to repair the skin so that it can go back to the way it was. But even your gut is doing the same kind of thing, and your body is always compensating in ways that are genius and just, quite frankly, really smart in terms of priorities and things like that. So we really want to set aside the judgments that say it should look this way, or this is the thing that needs to come first before this thing, because quite frankly, a lot of those things don't apply when you're on this healing process, especially with GAPS, where you really are even setting aside these ideas that vegetables are good for you. And because there may be times where your body's saying, no, I do not want vegetables. And the reality is that could actually be a really good thing. That could be your body telling you what it's needing in that moment. I could go into this in another video, but vegetables have a ton of fiber and it can be really harsh on a healing gut. But a lot of the times, in our Western world, like, vegetables are good for you, just eat more vegetables. And really are wanting to come with this idea where you're training your taste buds. When I talk about the idea of learning your body's language, I really do believe that your body has a language that it's speaking to you, and it's usually based off what it's been previously exposed to. So when it comes to intuitive eating, that is some of what you're going to need to decipher, because as we know with the GAPS diet, not all cravings are healthy cravings, and we're not just saying that, oh, okay, my body's craving sugar, I'm just gonna eat all the sugar that I want. You're really learning the language of your body, and you're learning to say, okay, my body's craving this. This means this. And because of that, I'm going to give my body this. You're not ignoring that signal. A lot of dieting comes with the idea where you're like, I'm craving sugar, so I'm just gonna ignore it. And that is actually some of your body's signals of saying, my blood sugar regulation is off, I need help. And ignoring that is actually not always a healthy thing. So there are ways to resolve those blood sugar dysregulations in healthy ways besides eating a bunch of cane sugar, but you're really going to need to start to learn the language of your body. Language is all made up of what it's been exposed to. So if your body is craving chocolate, it might not actually want the chocolate, but it might be code for how your body has previously gotten magnesium in the past. And so your body might actually be craving the magnesium in the chocolate, but that's the only way it knows how to tell you that it's craving magnesium, because that's the only real source of magnesium you've been exposed to. And so your body might be like, I really want chocolate, and you're craving all this chocolate, but your body's actually, have you ever heard of that? Come on, like when you're on your period and you're craving chocolate, some of that might actually be that your body's craving the magnesium in the chocolate. And there's actually ways to satisfy that craving in a healthier, more optimal way that's going to serve your body better in the end. And that's what we're going for. We're really still listening to our bodies, not ignoring them, but really giving them what they are actually needing and wanting. I personally have kind of a crazy experience with this. I've gone not really in the realm of eating disorder, but especially when it comes to allergies, I have ignored a lot of my body's signals in the past. I was extremely sensitive to dairy for a while. I was extremely sensitive to chocolate and certain fruits and a whole host of things. And for a while, I was in a lot of denial about my physical state and what would actually trigger my body. And it led me to just really eating all the foods whenever I wanted to eat them and getting really sick. And to the point where like some of my friends would come up to me and be like, "Are you okay?" Like after almost every meal, because I would have eaten something that they even knew was gonna end up hurting me, but I wasn't willing to make that change yet. So if you're interested in making some changes, but you're not ready to jump right in, full on in, I'll post the video in the description box below where I go through 3 simple changes. So like if I had had these, I might have had a lot easier of a time changing my diet, but there's just 3 simple changes to, altering your diet in ways that are manageable for you and your lifestyle. So check it out. But that was really my problem. I really just ate whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. I didn't really listen to my body. I didn't listen to my hunger signals when it said to stop or start. And I didn't understand why I was like hungry in times of the day that people weren't supposed to be eating traditionally. And it just really had me out of whack. And the first problem with this really was the judgments that I had. I'm going to take you back here, and it's going to be step 1 is to really just evaluate your judgments. Evaluate the judgments that you have towards foods. Evaluate the judgments that you have towards yourself and your schedule and what you think that eating needs to look like, because a lot of those judgments in our culture can really negatively impact our body if we aren't aware of how they're affecting our day-to-day life. So one judgment might be that you should eat breakfast right when you wake up in the morning. That's kind of what we've always done. If you wake up at 7, that means you're eating breakfast at 7. And so that means like you should just be eating. You wake up and you should be eating. It's this whole kind of idea of the shoulds, where you're putting this judgment on yourself and then putting this kind of responsibility on yourself, like you need to do it, and then you kind of just feel like this is the way people always do it, and then things don't ever change, because even if you're not hungry in the morning, you end up eating because that's just what people do. And I see this a lot, especially when it comes to coffee drinkers. People will wake up and they're just like, "I'm not hungry." And I totally understand. I'm not hungry when I wake up either. But because they're not hungry, they'll sit there and they'll drink a whole thing of coffee, not having any water. And the reason that your body wasn't hungry, there's actually very logical reasons. Your body is going through a lot of detox from the span of, 3 or 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. in the morning. That's a really heavy time of detox for your body, and a lot of times eating can actually add to the burden of detoxing, and so it's actually pretty natural for you to not feel hungry until a little bit later. Doesn't mean that you should feel that way, just means that it's pretty normal and it makes a lot of sense. But people will say, "I'm not hungry, so I'm just gonna have coffee," which ends up dehydrating you, and then you kind of have a host of other problems where you're like, you definitely can listen to your body, but does that mean your body's craving a ton of coffee and no water in the morning? No, but that's what kind of fits within our cultural paradigm, and so we kind of take that on. So I just want to say that kind of letting go of these judgments is really going to be the first step to learning to listen to your body, learning to eat intuitively, and taking those burdens and those judgments that you placed on yourself and your eating routines off, so that you can kind of have clarity to see and to hear what your body's actually wanting. So after you've kind of gotten over those judgments, and that's really important because it's very hard to hear your body when you have some of those judgments, my step 2 is really going to be listening and taking time to hear yourself. This is where I have often been told it can be really confusing, especially with the scenario I just gave about sugar. If you're listening to your body and you're gonna eat all the sugar that you want, the answer is no. But the idea here is you're taking time and giving yourself space, the energy, the time to listen to your body and cooperate with it. So that might mean taking time to journal. That might mean jotting down every time you have a craving throughout the day, so you can kind of get an idea of like what are my cravings. Maybe making a a huge platter of food and seeing what your body naturally gravitates towards. Dr. Natasha gives the idea of even putting the whole bigger piece of chicken on your plate and eating with your hands, because your brain will actually naturally draw your hands to the parts of the animal that it's craving the most, regardless of whether it's socially or culturally acceptable, like the skin and the cartilage and all that kind of stuff that might not be socially or culturally normal, but your body will actually draw itself towards the parts of the animal that your body's needing and craving. So another step might be keeping kind of a log of how you're feeling in a day to kind of evaluate your symptoms based on what you've been eating, so you can kind of logic through it a little bit to see, oh, like this is what I ate and I ended up feeling really fatigued, or then you kind of know, or like I had a bunch of kefir and I ended up with a full body rash. You can kind of decipher some of these, whether they're detox reactions, die-off reactions, like, or just, you know, your body's not tolerating something yet. You'll be able to kind of become aware of these things, and as you're aware of these things, that's going to really help you as you say yes or say no to something when it's offered to you. Now, the third step, and this can be some of the hardest part, is going to be taking action. So this is where it can be kind of uncomfortable for a lot of people, but I really encourage you to not confuse the discomfort for the chaos. So I would say when you're just not being mindful of what you're eating whatever you want, or you're eating too much of what you want, or you're not really even taking what you want into consideration, all these things that come with being mindful when you're eating, all that kind of stuff. When you're trying to be mindful of what you're eating, a lot of the times the cultural burden or the burden around you, a lot of the times making the decision at the end to follow through with loving yourself and taking care of yourself and really honoring yourself in the process can be some of the hardest part of this. And so this is where, you know, following through on that commitment and really taking action is going to be a make it or break it here. So I will start by saying that this part is hard because this is often the part where you are going against cultural norms. So I've had situations where, you know, someone serves me a whole plate of food and I'm super thankful, but then I like look at it and my body just feels revolted towards it. Like I can tell I don't want it. My body's like not craving this right now. And I've had times where I've eaten the whole thing and had just like my body doesn't react well to it. I end up in pain later or something like that. And I've had times where I just have had to say no and kind of step into that uncomfortable space where I'm really willing to put myself first. And even, you know, everybody's eating and I'm just being willing to be like, hey, I'm not really feeling like this is what my body's wanting right now. Can I politely decline? And maybe I'll make a whole video of ways to politely decline food, because I feel like it's so hard on gaps. Everybody's offering you food. Everybody's wanting to serve you, and especially when it comes to eating out at restaurants. I have had this moment a lot of times where I've just needed to follow through and honor what my body's craving. And it's challenging at times, but it's also very, very rewarding because I can feel myself learning how to love myself in a deeper way, being validated in my process, knowing that this internal voice has an external being that's taking care of it and is willing to take sacrifices for that, even if it means an awkward situation or something socially unacceptable. I've said no to alcohol when my friends and I have like spent days and days preparing to go to a bar together to celebrate. I've said no to alcohol because it's not what my body was wanting in that moment. And I do think a lot of these scenarios can come up when you're choosing to eat intuitively. We have a lot of these, you know, Western mentalities where you sit at the table and you do not leave until you're done eating. It really just trains us to eat when we're not hungry, to force yourself to finish because somebody else created this standard of what you need to eat and this is what it needs. And I really do think that there's a way to actually instill healthy cravings into your body so that your body knows how to crave what's good. So again, I mentioned the idea of giving your body a language. And the reality is that when you probably first come onto healthy eating, you're going to be craving things that are not always good for you. So you might be craving the sugar. That's not necessarily your body saying, I need the sugar. It's your body saying, I'm dependent on the sugar. Maybe your blood sugar is off because you've stopped eating the sugar and it's feeling the effects of it. There's ways to compensate with that and also not be harmful to yourself. So part of this process is going to be what I like to call creating a new dictionary for your body. And I'm going to probably go into this more in another video, but the idea is that as you start giving yourself good food that's healing and food that's nourishing, your body will start to learn like, oh, I really need this. And you'll find yourself craving meat stock in the middle of the night, or craving kefir, or craving all these really amazing, nourishing foods, you kind of go on this journey where at this point, I know when I need an enema, or when I need some detox support, when I need some protein versus when I need some kind of more carby food. And you start to kind of feel out your body, notice when you feel your best, and give your body the options that are nourishing and really healthy and good for you. And your body kind of develops this dictionary that it never really had before. So before it might have said chocolate because it has magnesium in it. Then your body learns, oh, you can get magnesium in liver, or it can get magnesium in like a supplement and all these other things, and your body starts to kind of rewire its cravings. So I would just encourage you to kind of take note of those things, really like journal it out. That's been like the most helpful thing for me, or just take notes. When I eat this, it makes me feel like this, and all that kind of stuff. So I know that was a long spiel, but I just encourage you, those 3 things: setting aside your judgments, really learning to make that commitment to take action on what you're hearing and listening to as you attune yourself to your body and its needs. I think it's going to be such a fruitful process for you, and I really hope that this idea of expanding that dictionary benefits you. If you're interested in learning more about GAPS, I have a whole channel where I talk about all the different kinds of ways you can incorporate nourishing foods into your diet in easy ways and in more complex ways. But for now, thanks so much for watching, and be sure to like this video and subscribe. I make new videos like this one every week, and it's my passion really to walk alongside people as they heal and grow. It inspires me and hopefully brings encouragement to you. Thanks for watching.